Hello, hello. Hi, everybody. If you're watching on YouTube, look at me. I am double fisted. Holy smokes. With regard to the Monday poll question, I want to offer an apology, but only to 247 of you. 247 of you, I apologize. I'll explain in just a moment. The Monday poll question: do you agree with Senator Fetterman that Democrats should not refer to President Trump as an autocrat? Do you agree with Senator John Fetterman that Democrats should not refer to President Trump as an autocrat? Thank you to my friends at Parx Casino. It's my casino of choice. They've got it all: action, excitement, headline entertainment. If you live in central or northern New Jersey or New York, the closest live table games are at Parx Casino off exit 6 of the Jersey Turnpike. It's Pennsylvania's #1 casino. Thousands of slots, state-of-the-art sports book, beautiful poker room, the Liberty Bell Beer Garden, a collection of award-winning restaurants. This is how you win. And great entertainment. As a matter of fact, I can't commit to this 100%, but something that I have penciled in on my calendar is Saturday, September 20, which is Saturday night. Australian Pink Floyd. They're doing the 50th anniversary of Wish You Were Here. And I understand they do it note for note, and I would love to see it. If the moon and the stars line up for me on Saturday night, that's where you'll find me. Comedian Hannah Berner on Friday night, the Revivalists. Comedian Russell Peters, Kansas, Everclear, Almost Queen, Air Supply. Oh, Air Supply, that's a new addition. Comedian Brian Regan. And of course, you've got Bill Murray and his Blood Brothers for one night only, November 15. ParxCasino.com. That's where you go for tickets and information. Got to be 21. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Okay, before I get to the Monday poll question, just a quick review. Yesterday, and I'm looking forward to talking about this on radio today, for a Sunday, 40,000 is a lot of votes. 40,062 voted yesterday. Should workers who publicly celebrate the killing of Charlie Kirk face employment termination? 75.19%, pretty decisive, said no. Looking forward to talking about that on radio. Well, if I was excited about 40,000 votes on a Sunday, you can imagine how I felt about 60,000 votes on a Saturday. 60,402. Is this the end of a dark chapter in our history or the beginning of a darker chapter in our history? Those are the words of Utah Governor Spencer Cox, who I think has really distinguished himself in a good way in terms of the things that he has said since the horrific execution of Charlie Kirk. 91.74%. This is a bummer. Said that it's the beginning, meaning the beginning of a darker chapter. I hope that they're wrong. I've had a couple of days where I've asked, where is the nation going, including on Friday, when I asked Friday, September 12th, when I asked a Peggy Noonan inspired question. Do you agree with Peggy Noonan? The assassination of Charlie Kirk feels different, like a hinge point, that it's going to reverberate in new, dark ways. 68.97% agreed with her. So the pessimism of the audience, as reflected in these poll questions, is a consistency. And you know what I was going to say? And I know we all hope that that's wrong, but some among us don't hope that that's wrong, which is sad. The Monday poll question. Here we go. Do you agree with Senator Fetterman that Democrats should not refer to President Trump as an autocrat? I said at the outset that I owe an apology to 247 people. Who are they? They are the 247 who voted on the poll question today before I tweaked it. And Maya, our newsletter editor, said to me, you realize if you tweak it, the slate gets wiped clean, meaning we lose the 200. And this was like 6 a.m. this morning. And I said, yeah, I got to take that hit. I got to take that hit because I realized in the light of day, well, in the almost light of day, that the poll question wasn't going to work. The poll question would simply have been a referendum on President Trump. And I'm not looking for that. It may end up being a referendum on President Trump. But I should have known from my confusion, because I sent an email to Maya last night and to Randy. Randy creates the thumbnails for YouTube, a photograph and just a headline or a blurb. And I should have known from my confusing note to them that this wasn't going to work, because I said, do you agree with Senator Fetterman that President Trump is not an autocrat? That was originally what 247 people voted on. But the answer, I said, shouldn't be a yes or no, because a yes vote would mean not an autocrat, and a no vote would mean autocrat. What was I thinking? So I changed it, because I'm really not interested in whether you think he's an autocrat. I'm interested in the political question of Senator Fetterman saying this is not a winning strategy. He did an interview with Manu Raju on CNN. I got to say, and not just because we're on the same team, I think Manu is great. I think he is a great Capitol Hill reporter for CNN. We're damn lucky to have him. From the story, Democratic Senator John Fetterman has a warning for his party. Learn from the politically charged whirlwind that put Donald Trump back in the White House and secured Republicans control of both chambers of Congress, or risk staying in the minority. And then Fetterman is quoted as saying, they have forgotten one of the reasons why we lost in 2024. Some people think now we have to double down on those things, or we must become more progressive or more extreme. That's absolutely not true. The 7 or 8 states that are going to determine who's going to be our next president, we have to win in those states, and I understand what it takes. Clearly, we've lost the argument, he said, on issues that delivered Trump to the second term. We've lost our connection with American voters in ways, he said, that Democrats won't find political success just from being reactive. And then here's the key part. Here's the key part. So listen, please, to what John Fetterman said about President Trump. Though the Democratic presidential ticket made labeling Trump a threat to democracy a central campaign theme, Fetterman cautioned against comparing him to an autocrat. Quote, we have to turn the temperature down. It's like we can't compare people to these kinds of figures in history. And this is not an autocrat. This is a product of a democratic election. It's like, I participated in that. It was safe. It was secure. We lost. And the American people put us in the minority. That's democracy. I revere democracy. I may not like the outcome, but I have to respect it. And I know that some of you are watching me on YouTube, listening to the podcast, and saying, well, he may have been elected in a Democratic contest, but he's ruling as an autocrat. I get that. I get that that's your criticism. Politically speaking, which is where my focus lies, Fetterman is correct. My 2024 explanation remains unchanged since the election ended last November, and it was ICE, I-C-E. Immigration, the economy, that's the I and the C. Pardon me, that's the I and the E. The C is condescension. The C is condescension. All of the criticism on Trump, the 4 indictments, an over-the-top, I think, disparaging of both he and, remember the garbage comment from President Biden? And I think it boomeranged. I think it just fueled people, not necessarily hardcore MAGA, but people who ultimately voted for Donald Trump and didn't want to be condescended in the process. The only thing, I'll say it more clearly, the only thing I think that unifies Democrats today is their antipathy for Trump. Tell me what the party stands for beyond we hate Donald Trump. Mark Halpern today in his Wide World of News, not writing specifically about Fetterman, but says much of what I'm thinking and trying to explain to you right now. In his Wide World of News, Mark begins this way: the Democrats and the dominant media are largely oblivious to what is happening in much of post-Charlie Kirk assassination America. Out of ignorance, Trump derangement syndrome, and long-running principled outrage at the current administration, they do not see what is rising, or seeing will not name it. I don't want to give away too much of his newsletter, but that he then goes in this same direction of this not being a winning strategy for the Ds. So anyway, that's what takes me to the poll question today on this Monday at Smerconish.com. Do you agree with Senator Fetterman that Democrats should not refer to President Trump as an autocrat? I would say autocrat or even worse. And I think politically speaking, Fetterman is absolutely correct. Go cast a ballot on the Monday poll question, and please, on your calendar, circle Wednesday. Today's Monday. I'll get there. Wednesday at 8 p.m. Wednesday at 8 p.m., same bat time, same bat station, 8 p.m. on YouTube. Let's mingle. Never has there been more of a time to get together and talk about that which unites us rather than divides us. And I got to say, in a very favorable way, in a very positive, a very almost excited way, I've never heard as much conversation as I have heard in the last 72 hours for god-awful reasons. A man was murdered. But there has been so much conversation, starting with Spencer Cox, the governor of Utah. There's been so much conversation and so much written that you'd swear comes right out of our radio conversations of people recognizing, hey, social media is toxic. We've gone in our separate directions, and we need to come back and put it all together. You know, we need a sense of shared purpose, meaning we're in this together. We are in this together. And what does shared purpose come from? Common experience, in my opinion. Common experience, being in the company of others, being in the company of people who are unlike us, perhaps having a task in common and mingling. So that's where I'm coming from. And if you're with me, then let's talk about that Wednesday night. Okay? Wednesday night, join me at 8 p.m. on my YouTube channel. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and set yourself up for notifications, okay? So that any time that we have these conversations, you'll be reminded. The Monday poll question: do you agree with Senator Fetterman that Democrats should not refer to President Trump as an autocrat? Yes, John Fetterman. On this, I agree with you. See you on radio, everybody.